For the second week of October, aka ADHD Awareness Month, we are going to continue to focus on the impact of ADHD in the lives of professional photographers. And this week, I am talking with one of my favorite photographers and photography educators, Elena S. Blair, who speaks candidly and freely about the effects of ADHD on her business. And we really dive into why this might be the perfect career for you if you have ADHD and you're struggling with a traditional career. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
You're listening to The Business Focus Photographer. If you're ready to transform your photography business into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll discuss fun and innovative ways to boost your creativity and income. Sound good? Let's go.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast today. I am super duper excited to be here with my mentor, my favorite business coach, Elena S. Blair. You probably know Elena as an educator to photographers. She is a family photographer based in the Seattle area. But what Elena and I are going to talk about today is something we actually have in common. We are both family photographers with ADHD. And what we're going to kind of focus on is why that's actually really great for us as creative solopreneurs. So welcome, Elena.
Hi, thank you for having me. So excited.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, this is such an interesting topic. I was just telling you before we went live that I've probably been on 50 podcasts, and never once have I talked specifically about my ADHD, but I do talk very openly about it, as you probably know. And it's very prevalent in my family. If you are listening and you didn't know that, ADHD is extremely hereditary. And so I know a lot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, it's all up in my family, every sort of iteration of ADHD and beyond. So give everybody a quick backstory about your transition into this business and what that kind of looked like, and maybe if there was a time where it clicked for you that, like, hey, this is actually perfect for me and my brain.
Wow, it's a good question. I love that this is stuff I haven't talked about. So I've been a photographer professionally for 15 years. I'm ending my 15th season, which is wild. I can always keep track because my business is as old as my middle child. So it's easy to keep track of how many years. And I, at the time, was a registered nurse full time. I had two little kids at home. So I started my business when my oldest had just turned 3 and my second child was a newborn, because that seems like a good idea. And I am a family and newborn photographer based out of Seattle, Washington. I also have a very busy school division of my business. So we're busy. And I think, I look back at that time. I was younger. I think I was in my 20s. That helps. And how busy it was, I was working 12-hour shifts as a nurse. I had moved down to 2 12-hour shifts a week, which still ends up being a lot, by the way. For all of you nurses out there, you know what I'm talking about. And then was the primary parent for those 2 kids, and then started this photography business. And people with ADHD, myself included, it can be a little bit of what would I say? How can I say this? It can be something that we do to ourselves that's not always healthy, but it's also, we thrive on being busy. And, there's some things about regulation and learning how to be still and all of that I'm still working on every day. But people with ADHD really thrive on being busy. We get bored really, really easy. And idle time can often be really negative for somebody with ADHD, especially. So if we're talking about kids, that's when kids get impulsive, get in trouble. If you have a teenager who has ADHD, idle time is when they start exploring things you don't want them to explore, like drugs and alcohol. And I could go on and on. So for an adult with ADHD, we tend to really thrive on that really busy schedule. And so I think that when I was starting my business and I had all this other stuff going on, it felt like entertaining, fun, kept me busy. And I think that if you have ADHD and you're listening, you have to think about how you can use it as a superpower. And you really have to come up with guardrails too to actually get stuff done. People with ADHD can start and not finish. But I think that might be why it was something that just seemed like I could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's that like the dopamine seeking that we do where it's like the novel. We love the novelty of building and creating something. And yeah, there's the follow through is not always there.
Hmm.
I started having an idea garage where like when I get a big idea, before I start to implement it, I have to park it in my idea garage for a
It's a
while
good
and
idea.
then come back to it. Like after some time has passed, if it's still a good idea, 'cause it's not always a good idea
Hmm.
to do that. But yeah, that risk taking, which is like very often problematic for people with ADHD, is really also what makes us successful and pushes us quicker into some success. And yeah,
Yeah, people with ADHD can have perfectionism tendencies, but the ones that I know that are the most successful, and I know a lot of them, one of my siblings in particular, I would say that we're more of a done is better than perfect kind of person. And so we're not afraid to just try and it be not right, not be perfect or whatever. And that is, I would say that that would be the number one reason if I could attribute one thing to my success, it's that I'm willing to be like, well, let's just see what happens. And if it
right.
doesn't work, oh well, like it's not that big of a deal. I don't feel super embarrassed. And I actually think that the reason too that we don't we don't have that self-consciousness that a lot of people without ADHD have, because as children we already had to deal with a lot of embarrassing things when you have ADHD, especially when I grew up. So I'm 43. It was still very taboo. The kids with ADHD were heavily medicated. So if you were a girl with ADHD, you sort of like slipped through the cracks and just
Absolutely.
suffered educationally.
Yeah.
And so I went through my life feeling pretty stupid and always having to ask questions when no one else had to ask them. And, having to learn I also have dyslexia. So having to learn different ways to make it. I don't know how I survived nursing school. I did it it was so hard, so hard. And so I think for me and for a lot of people with ADHD and dyslexia, we're like, whatever. It's not that embarrassing to feel stupid. Like
Right.
I
Yeah.
already I can whatever. Like I'm gonna just try it, and if it doesn't work, like and that's a superpower. That trauma of your childhood makes you stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. And that I am the same flavor where I
Mhm.
am so not a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And thank goodness, because I wouldn't
Hmm.
do anything because I'm never
Hmm.
doing anything perfectly, ever, ever. So yeah, to be able to be okay with falling down, because
Hmm.
also like our pacing of doing things, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna fall down, but I'm on to the next thing already. So like that's in the past. Here's the next thing that might be on display for other people to pay attention to. And yeah, it's not a big deal. And I mean, this all lends itself really, really well to the business end and being able to build the thing. But then on the client facing end, I think that there's also something to be said for your energy, and ADHD isn't always hyperactive,
Mm-mm.
but it's your stamina, like social stamina, which we can come home completed, depleted, and just like don't nobody talk to me for a while. But when we're on, and the empathy, especially in girls with ADHD, the empathy is strong, and being able to connect with your clients. Have you found this coming into play, and also helping you with dealing with kids where you recognize a little bit of yourself or your children or your siblings in them?
Yeah. Um, the stamina part, I think, is for real. We people with ADHD, we can be overwhelming sometimes. It can be a lot. I don't apologize for it, but it comes in handy when you're a photographer. And if those of you who are listening are photographers, especially during a family session, you're really managing everyone's emotions and having to tune in to everyone in order to be able to capture them quickly. And I do think that it lends really well to that. It's like we have more energy to handle that type of thing. And I think you're right. I think you're a little more empathetic too. I mean, neurodivergence is so there's what is normal, right? Like everyone has a little
Right.
neurodivergence.
Yeah,
So we
is
can
it really
also,
divergent? I don't know.
yeah, we can really sense it on, all levels when you see a kid who needs a little special attention or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I just yesterday I had a session with a longtime client whose son is coming into the age where it's evident that there's other things going on. And I think she's used to having to safeguard him and what other people think of him. And I think it was helpful for her to know, at least what I deal with my own children, that I don't have any expectations of a child, especially a child with ADHD.
Hmm.
Like let's just have fun. And I think that has helped me personally, as with these families where I can be a safe space at least for 45 minutes or an hour, and they can get this thing done that can otherwise be really stressful.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
makes you more understanding for sure. Especially, so we're talking about ourselves having it, but if you have a child who has it, which I also do,
Yeah.
I gave my disabilities to, my learning differences to two different children. Um, but you're so much more understanding because you know what it's like as a parent for someone to not understand your kid, which is really, really awful. It's an awful feeling when that happens. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, it totally makes you a better photographer too.
Yeah, my son, my oldest, is autistic, which there's a lot of the same issues with ADHD and autism. And then my daughter is just girl with ADHD. So yeah, I have no judgment. And I think yeah, I personally feel better when I'm working with a photographer who gets it, doesn't have unrealistic expectations. And but can we rewind? What do you think was do you think that nursing as a career, because you were working for somebody else's schedule, etc., that might have clashed with your ADHD and kind of led to, I know that income was getting to be way better in photography, lifestyle
Hmm.
was better, but do you think there was a little bit of that in play that made a traditional job a bad fit for you because of ADHD?
Yeah. Well, when I went into my nursing journey, I was an 18-year-old trying to decide what the heck to do with my life. And it's funny, I have an 18 and a 19-year-old now, and I'm like, gosh, are they going to stick with what they're deciding right now? But it's a big decision you have to make at that age. And
Right.
school
Yeah.
was very hard for me, and I had got into a good college with a scholarship for my leadership abilities, not my grades. And so I went into it, and I really, everyone else had to work half as hard. Nursing school is hard for somebody without a learning difference. I'm not just saying that because I did it. It really is. It's like it's way harder than being a nurse. Like when I got into being a nurse, I was like, wow, this is better. But I really wanted to prove to myself that I was smart and prove to my parents that I was smart because my sisters, two of my sisters, one's a doctor, one's a lawyer and a PhD. My other sister also has learning differences like me, but she went into journalism, which was probably a better fit than medicine. And but I really wanted to prove to myself and to everybody that I was smart. So I did it, and that it was worth it for that part of the journey. I was so proud. I was an ICU nurse, which it was very intense. But yes, very quickly, it, I got actually one thing about ADHD, if you don't know this, is hyperfocus is actually another thing that we do really well. And so as an ICU nurse, that was perfect for me because you only had one client, one patient. Most of the time I was a newborn intensive care nurse, and their drug calculations are like minute by minute, really little numbers. You have to be very on. And so it kept me very focused, and I loved it. I loved all of that hyper focus of it. But the scheduling, it was very quick where I would dread that shoot would, or that shoot, that shift would come up. And at first I was like, oh, 3 days a week, 12 hours a week, that's easy. That 12-hour shift would come up, and I would just be in like this state of dread. And I did it for 10 years, though. So there was a 5-year overlap with my photography business. And I look back now, it's the only job I've ever had that I had to report to somebody other than like my high school jobs and my college jobs. And I could never work for anyone again.
Right. Yeah.
It's been 11 years since I've worked as a nurse, but um yeah, I need the freedom. I need schedule freedom big time. And then I realized took me a while to realize like, wow, I'm actually very creative. No, I didn't know that until I got started my photography business. And I need that outlet. I am not a inside of the box kind of person. And I had put myself inside a box. So
Well, if you could have like been running the show as a nurse and been able to make those executive decisions, then you might still be there. But because I don't think
no, I don't.
it wasn't a technical thing for you. It wasn't the
No, it
job
wasn't.
itself.
No, I even running the show would have hated it. Like I have friends who still in the field that are now like charge nurses or like doing the admin stuff, and no thanks. Like that's
Yeah.
still working for like a hospital administrator, you know?
Right, 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 right.
And it's very underpaid. So
Oh,
to my
absolutely.
nursing friends out there, like you're working your ass off. Like that, those shifts are intense, on your feet, no breaks. I mean, you get breaks, but they're like just a, a joke, and you're not getting paid half of what some of the doctors are making. Like it's,
Right.
I'm
Or
doing most of the work.
what some photographers are making. And
Oh, I mean,
it's like,
yes. When I
like,
surpassed my salary as a nurse, as a photographer, I did it pretty quickly. I think it was after my first year of doing photography full time. I was like, oh my gosh, the sky is the limit, because there is a ceiling when you're working in the hospital or when you have a
yeah.
job for someone. There's a top. Well, that there's no top when you're working for yourself. So.
No, no. I remember when I was photographing my kids' school and where my husband works too. And there was a little boy in pre-K. And by the way, I think you know this. I was a teacher in my past life. So and I was in foreign languages and ESL stuff like that. So there was a little pre-K boy and he didn't speak English, spoke Spanish, and he was having a really hard time understanding his teacher of what he needed to do. So I could speak Spanish. I got down, I spoke to him, I helped him out. And the teacher was like, "Oh my goodness, Jill, what are you doing being a photographer? You could be working here. We need your skills." And like, of course, it gave me pause. And I thought about it, like, yeah, sure would be nice to not have to do my own taxes and work for
Mhm.
somebody else. And I talked to my husband that night and he was like, "Are you nuts?" He's like,
Mhm.
"You'd be getting paid half of what you're paid now. And right now you have all the flexibility. Like, let
Mhm.
me have the benefits. Let me have the steady paycheck. You keep doing this
Mhm.
flexible, amazing thing." But yeah, I think it's like one of the worst kept secrets of the industry is how lucrative it can be,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
without an awful schedule. Like
It's not a secret for me. I
no,
talk
it's
about it
not a
all the
secret for
time.
you.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot. Yeah, it is so lucrative when done. I don't like to use the word correctly, but when done strategically, I was just, I have a mastermind because you've been in it before. I was just talking to one of our members yesterday for her one-on-one call, and a very typical, I know we're kind of swaying here on topics, but a very typical photographer that's in business has a partner that is the main earner. And so this person that I'm talking about has been in business for like 10 years. And I'm like, all right, well, how much do you make? And instead of like knowing, she kind of doesn't know, even though she's been doing it for 10 years, because she's just been like, well, I make a little bit here and a little bit there and whatever. And that's not strategic. When you're just like, sure, I'll do that shoot for 500, I'll do this. That's not thinking about scaling and strategy. But when you start to put some structure to it and realize how much you need to get to your goal, and then then it just starts snowballing and happening very effectively. So it's
Yeah.
you do have to take it seriously, even if you want to be part-time and your partner's the main earner or you have another job. You got to take it seriously.
Yep. You sure
And
do.
then things really change.
Just run your numbers once and submit it to your accountant, and it's going to be a kick in the ass if you're not profitable, because you'll realize real quick, because it's still work. It still
Hmm.
can be really exhausting, and it's still a job. So if you put everything into it and at the end of the year you netted 4K, it's like,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
you're in the red, like, was this worth it? Is this even? So yeah, I am, but that's like, it is not off topic, because that's part of what makes a person like you so good, is that you can keep that dopamine hit coming by
Hmm.
switching gears from, like, today I'm being creative, like, as an artist, but tomorrow I'm going to be creative as a business person, and
Hmm.
figure out a way that this can work for me specifically. Like, you're basically designing your own business. You're
Hmm.
building it to customize to you and your brain and your life.
I always say the business side is more or is as creative or more creative than the photography part. And when I say that during the mastermind, I feel like it gives people a little bit of permission to be excited about that part. I always I think of it as like, I mean, I'm pretty strategic, but it's also a little bit of a game. You're like, okay, I have this goal. How am I going to make it happen?
Mm-hmm.
Can I do it? Can I
Mm-hmm.
hit, multiple six figures? If you're still only making 20 or 30, like, can I hit 50 this year? What
Yeah.
am I going to do to make that happen? What's
Right.
the extra offer I'm going to bring in or whatever? That's how I've done it since the beginning. And it's so entertaining. It's a little scary sometimes,
It is
but
like a
very
game,
reliable.
though.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and yes, I know, my my problem with always like feeling like the jig is going to be up soon. Like, when is
Wait,
my luck going to run out?
Yeah, well, that's me too.
Yeah.
That's not our ADHD. That's our money trauma that we have.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
we could talk about that in another episode.
That's a whole, that is, yeah. And
I
after, like,
love
we'll bring my
talking.
therapist in for that one. Cause
It's
that's a
very
big one.
real. Your
It's so
attachment
real.
styles are very much related to how you deal
Hmm.
with money. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But it is, um, it feels, because of the safety net, and not everybody has, this is a privilege, but because of the safety net of my husband and his regular job with, like, that's tenured and all, and a contract and everything like that, and a union, I can take risks, and that's what always propels me.
Hmm.
And the risks are always spurred by these, like, big ideas and thinking outside of the box. And it somebody said, all all it means to be creative is to be able to solve a problem. And I never thought about it that way. And I don't know if that's really all it is, but I think that's a really big part of creativity, and the ability to solve a problem is the need to think like that,
Hmm.
and kind of like weave around norms and everything like that. So yeah, it is fun. It is like it's super fun.
Yeah. And if anyone's listening, I have never had the luxury of having a partner who supported me. I always tell, I'm like, my mom wanted me to be really independent. I wish she had, like, said, marry somebody who can support you. But when, my ex-husband, had made less than me. And then everyone who has been following me for a long time knows that we had a very traumatic divorce, and he lost his job when he also left me for his assistant. So sorry to bring that in. We're all friends now. It's all fine. We're happy. But I've always been the main earner. And in that time, actually, the reason I'm bringing this up is that I had been you know, going full on photography for about 3 years at that point when that happened. And at that time, I was like, wow, if I was a nurse when he lost his job, we'd be in a lot of trouble, because I was making like half of what I made as my own business owner. And it was so eye opening for me to think, like, wow, I made this happen on my own. I made up a job basically, and it makes twice as much as I used to make as a nurse. And thank goodness, and also if I had that, all that had happened, and was a single parent all of a sudden, I had to leave my kids for 14 hours, that would also not have worked. So it was just like, I saved myself.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's the only
absolutely.
person who is going to do it. But photography is very profitable and reliable. I have hundreds of students, thousands of students, friends that are making it work. So if you're listening to this, like, it can be done, and it will be worth it.
Yeah, I would like to co-sign on that message. Is if you're even thinking about it, do it. Do it.
Do it.
It's like the barrier to entry is like this big. You can't
Hmm.
see me. It's a very small
Like an
barrier,
inch.
and
Yeah.
like an inch, it's cheaper than getting into some sort of MLM. So and it's definitely more profitable, and it's all for you. So yeah, I know that this is your whole your core value is that, come on, everybody, come on in, water's fine. Like,
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
this is the life you're seeking, it's possible. It's all totally possible. I don't want to sway too far off, because I imagine you have your mastermind today. It's Tuesday, so
It
that
is.
must
Yeah. I
be
got
what
about
you.
30 more
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So you are so good about your back end organization, as somebody who has this brain. So do you want to take a minute and just talk about some of the systems, the tools, the hacks, whatever you want to call it? What has helped you overcome the deficits of the ADHD
Hmm.
brain, like being forgetful or the executive functioning and all that?
Hmm. So, any business owner, by the way, this can be applied for anybody, because I have a lot of students who do not have ADHD that have terrible systems and are wasting so much time. So, but somebody who has ADHD, and Jill, I don't know if you got services when you were a kid. You probably didn't, right? Or did you?
No,
I didn't
no,
discover
I got referrals.
I didn't discover that I had ADHD until I was in college, when a teacher said, I think you might have learning disabilities. I was like, what? But thank goodness she really saved me. It happened to my sister too. Same thing, a college teacher. But anyway, when but I have a son who has ADHD, and so he had a coach when he was younger. And why I'm bringing that in is that I've had to be my own coach, because when you have ADHD, you don't feel very smart when you're a child with ADHD. But the truth is, people with ADHD usually have a very high IQ. They're just all over the place, right? And you learn that to make it in the world, you have to create guardrails for yourself. You have to create structure for yourself. And so I have applied that and quickly applied that to my photography business. And so what I think I'm really good at with my ADHD is like recognizing like, wow, this is a disaster. You need to do something about it, or it's going to be really overwhelming and you're going to quit. So I really know my limiting factors. I know that if I don't figure out some structure, my go-to is just to be like, I'm out. Like, this is
Yep,
too hard. I'm
same.
not going to do it anymore. So I didn't want that to happen with my photography business. And I knew that, very quickly, I've been doing this 15 years. Very quickly, I realized like, whoa. Like this client communication stuff is completely disorganized and a waste of time. Like, I don't want to be emailing everybody 500 times. I don't want to. So I created back-end structure long before I had a CRM or even knew what that meant, a client management software. I just did, templates, and I created I always say I'm really good at duct taping and PVC
Yeah.
piping things together.
Yeah.
I created systems that saved time. And then eventually I did get a CRM. And it's because I know that if I don't do that, that I will give up. And I think this can be applied to somebody without ADHD. When I meet a photographer and I start coaching them and they're feeling burnt out, there's two people that join my mastermind, brand new, that are like, I want this to work, and they don't have any systems. 5-10 years in, making 50,000, 600,000, and working themselves to the bone, and
That was
they don't
me.
know, and they don't know why it's not working. Yeah, I'm like, okay, and if we can get there, there's two things I want to get back for them. I want to, increase profit, but I want you to get your time back. And so a lot of people don't have these systems, and they wonder why it feels so hard while burnout. So I think that I create those systems because I know myself. I will quit if I don't have it aligned, or if I don't have it in place. And I like saving time. I'm pretty much like a time saving wizard, because I don't like wasting time on stuff that I know that can be automated or systemized. So
Yeah, it's the only thing that's actually finite. You can get more money, you can get more clients, you can.
And
Everything
it's how
else
I run.
is
I have 4 kids. I don't know if any of you, if you know that. I have 4 kids, and they are in elite activities, all of them. Like, my daughter just got a Nutcracker roll. It's insane. It's insane. But I do it with our life and my family. I'm like, okay, like there's no way I'm going to try to remember this. I've got a family calendar, who's driving, we're going to email the teachers and make sure we get her homework first. I put it into like a system, because my brain needs that structure. And so I think a lot of people think that people with ADHD are just really disorganized and all over the place. But the truth is when you learn what kind of structure you need, you can put it in place for yourself. And I'm really good at doing
right.
that.
Well, yeah, and like you pointed out, anybody with any brain, ADHD or not, recognizing your deficits and like where you need help and delegating either to a robot or an actual human is always. I mean, not everything needs to be that it makes you more money. Like that, it doesn't always have to affect that bottom line. Sometimes the bottom line is your sanity, and sometimes the bottom
Mm-hmm.
line is your time, or freeing up that time to be with your family or your friends and
That's
everything
what
like that.
I always say. There's like and I know you guys can't see us, but like if you imagine like a pyramid, and then your next, so if you're say at an income point that you feel like you've plateaued at, and some people are plateauing like 10,000, 20,000 a year. So if you're new and you're like, I'm stuck at this low number, you're not wrong. But they get to this point and they're like, I want to go to the next level. And then to the next level of the pyramid is this gap. And that gap is actually time. You first have to get your time back before you can increase your profit. And so that gap I feel like I should draw this because I talk about it a lot, but that gap is creating ways to get your time back, because you can't make more money if you don't have the time to do it. And that might mean more shoots. It might mean bringing on an employee. It might mean raising your prices, whatever. But you gotta figure out how to get that time back, and then you can go to the next level. And most
Yeah.
people have a big gap there because we waste a lot of time. in the photography business.
Yeah, especially because it usually means spending a little bit of money to get that
Mm-hmm.
time back. And it doesn't even have to be in your business. You can hire a house cleaner or somebody
Mm-hmm.
or a wash and fold service to free up a couple of
Mm-hmm.
hours in your week for, your time at home doing admin stuff.
A
So if
babysitter.
you're a babysitter, like
Mm-hmm.
that's the one that blows my mind is that so many
So many.
photographers just
No
have
man
like
would
their
say,
kids.
I'm going to build a business at nap time. Sorry,
Yeah,
ladies.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
I always say, and
right.
I was guilty of that too until I finally was like, I need some help. Like and you're being a half mom, half business owner too. You're like, everyone deserves a little more of your attention. You get, anyway.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big fan of outsourcing. Do you have one of those digital calendars that's on the wall that is like a smart sort of thing
We have an
with,
Echo
yeah.
Show now, actually, which
Yes, that's what we got.
I love it because it has the
Yeah.
slideshow too. But I can say, "Hey Alexa, oops, I'm going to get it going right now." But I can say, "Show me my calendar," and it just shows us and the family calendar is all there, so everyone can
Hmm.
see when. Um, we especially for this Nutcracker thing because her schedule changes week to week. Of course, they can't make it the
Wow.
same, so
Yeah.
it's all there. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the show 15 this year. It was my Christmas gift. It's what I really wanted. And it's in the kitchen. It's like the hub.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the calendar as the sleep screen. And my husband got an ADHD coach this year, and one of the first things she had
Nice.
him do was start using his reminders and an electronic calendar, which he never used before. So
Mm-hmm.
now like they're melded, and he can look without having to ask me what I have because my schedule is not the same, right? And then the kids have their things that are in there. It's the best. I really like if you have ADHD or if you're just a busy family that is all over the place, get one of these. They're so
Yeah, they're
cool.
not that expensive. Either.
No,
They're like under
no.
$300.
No,
They're
and
actually
as we
they're
record,
kind of
it's Prime
amazing.
Day, I think. So it's
Yeah.
probably on sale right now.
Yeah, exactly. They're very,
Yeah.
very cool. And you talk to it
Hmm.
like an Amazon piece or whatever. Yeah, they're pretty
Yeah.
awesome. What you just
Yeah.
said about your husband is really interesting. One thing that you said is that his therapist is having him get organized. People with ADHD can organize things in our brain, and my husband is not ADHD. He could not be more not ADHD, and he says that my brain is like that scene in A Beautiful Mind where, he sees all those, because if you ask me something about the schedule, I know it, I can see it. And I
Hmm.
feel like us with
Yeah.
ADHD have almost like we have like a visual, like in our brain, we can like look at stuff, but that doesn't mean that your brain doesn't need the break of having things be organized, because it also causes stress. That
Right.
what the
Right.
pressure that we put on ourselves and that we try to compute on our own causes a lot of stress. And so alleviating some of that's those barriers, like being like, I need a little support here. It makes a big difference.
Yes. Well, that's it. And it enables you to get the support from your partner if
Mm-hmm.
they need to know what your schedule is so that they can kind of like carry some of the load for you. Man,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I realized recently that I had no idea was such a, I've talked to you ad nauseum about like my tax stress and all this stuff that really
Mm-hmm.
triggers me. And one of the things I realized is like, I haven't shared this with my husband. Why not? That when I did that, and I sat him down to get him to help me. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. And so just being able to like project this onto a screen because yeah, it's in our head, but we're
Mm-hmm.
the people in our family aren't telepathic. Like they don't know what we're thinking.
Exactly.
So they need to see it too. They need that information. Like, and then it allows other people to kind of give us a hand when we need it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's so
Mm-hmm.
funny. Yeah, I love that calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start to wrap this up so that you
Okay.
can transition into mastermind
Yeah.
mode. But take a minute to talk a little bit. I know from getting to know so many other photographers that the ADHD thing is pretty common in this industry. I think the
Mm-hmm.
whole being ungovernable it's kind of lends itself to like to being a creative solopreneur or entrepreneur. But talk about how you help all of the different photographers that you help, be it in your mastermind. I don't know if you're still doing any sort of one-on-one coaching, your retreats, your posing guides, how all of that sort of thing. The way that you help photographers of all neurotypes.
Yeah. Yes, I definitely don't just help photographers with ADHD, but that definitely comes through a lot. I think that what I'm really passionate about doing is helping photographers take this from something that's just new or barely working to something that is profitable and reliable and meaningful. And I think that it's very easy. You could even be 5 years in to be doing this and working quite a bit and not really making a profit. So if you've been a photographer for 2 or 3 years and you're still only at 10, 20, 30,000, that is not profitable. And a lot of my my students are definitely moms, because that's who I speak to. I have a lot of guys in my group now too, but they're moms, and they have that feeling like, well, my partner earns, or I have a day job and it doesn't need to be taken seriously. So I really love to help photographers learn how to make this into something that is real and that they can rely on. And I've had people that are like pharmacists be able to leave their day job to be a photographer full time, just to give you some perspective. And then on the topic that we're talking about, one of my favorite things is to help photographers create systems in their business so that they are able to focus on the things that are more important to them, like actually taking pictures, because that part is very small. When you become a photographer,
Right.
you're not taking very pictures as much as you're doing the other stuff if you're really imbalanced. And so I like photographers to create systems so that their business is running like a well-oiled machine. But most importantly, I want their business to mean something to them and for them to have created something that is truly who they are. And that's really when success really starts to take off. And so I help people with that part. And then, of course, a ton of mindset work. And then, you'll learn how to market your business in a way that doesn't feel gross. So it's all
Yeah.
the things. I like to talk about all of the things, but it's really that just a profitable, reliable, meaningful business
Yeah.
that runs on
Not
automate.
not to make a pitch, but I always think about like with whenever I spend money on education, what's the ROI? Like when it's all over said and done, like what did I get out of this that was worth the dollar amount that I spent? And much to my surprise, with your mastermind, it was the mindset. I didn't even
Mm,
know that was coming my way, and I didn't even know I needed it. And I would spend that money again just for those bits of information
mm.
that
Hey,
helped me clear these mindset hurdles that I didn't even know I had. So
yeah.
it it's a great program. It's a great program.
People probably, if you're listening and you have been taking to the internet and you hear all of these entrepreneurs talking about mindset and about money mindset and all that stuff, the reason we talk about it, the reason is because any successful business owner, entrepreneur realizes pretty fast that you can do all the strategy, you can take all the tips, but if you don't work on what's going on inside, you will be your own limiting factor time and time again. And
Yep.
so I don't talk enough about the mindset stuff in my forward facing marketing about the mastermind, because I feel like what people want more is like and I should probably more of, they want the strategy and like how am I going to make more money part. But it is a big part of the mastermind, especially the money mindset piece, because I just know you have to work on that stuff. I happen to be a certified life coach too. I don't talk about that enough either, but I went through a program, and it's very powerful. And this is actually neuroscience, by the way. It is a little woo woo, but it's also like your brain has the ability to make new neural pathways,
Mm-hmm.
and you can stay the same forever, or you can learn how to do that. And so we do a lot of that in the mastermind. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you like
Yeah.
that part.
I love that part, and yeah, it's everything. And I think that if you talked about that in your forward-facing marketing of the program, I think it might be lost on people because I really don't think the people who need it realize they need it or
Hmm.
even know what that would look like.
Hmm.
So it's huge, it's powerful. Definitely check out Elena and all of her education. She's really good. She's legit. She knows her shit, and
Well, thank you.
she really covers the bases wherever you are in business. Like when I finally got in her program, I was making six figures at that point. I had been in business for 8 or 9 years. But I was internally a mess, and I didn't even know it. I
Drowning.
just knew I wanted to learn from you, and that was like the best way to do it. So yeah, I'm super excited for the retreat this year to come to Palm Springs. Is that just for
Yes.
mastermind people?
It is just for mastermind people, but that's what makes the retreat special, And so if you're we have an annual retreat, which is basically an industry recognized little conference, and I haven't opened it up publicly yet because our alumni is so active that it's just really nice to keep it that intimate. So for now, I haven't opened it up, but my mastermind will be open. The applications will be opening up for the next cohort November 1st. So we're building the wait list for that now. So if it's something you would like to explore, you can just go to my website and check it out, poke around a little bit, see what people are saying. But I've been doing it for 5 years now, and the success stories are some of my proudest. Some of the things that I'm the most proud of, just to see people really step into their highest version of self, next level of income, time, freedom, all of that. Really proud of that. And the
Yeah.
community is just amazing. Like I said, we have this retreat that really, it's just alumni. It just feels like a big love fest. We get together and we hang out and yeah, exactly.
It is.
So
it's
fun.
The best, and I love the people that I've met through you. So I'm really looking forward to it. I really
Me
appreciate
too.
that. I know you're the busiest, so I really appreciate that you took this
No
time and
problem.
that it's early for you. And I can't wait for everybody to hear this because I think you dropped a lot of gems, and you're going to validate a way a lot of people are feeling. So thank you, Elena.
An important topic. You're welcome. Glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah. But it sounds like we have a billion more topics that we could discuss. And so maybe in when it's not, the busiest season. So
yes.
have a wonderful day, and
right.
we'll talk soon.
Okay. Sounds
Bye.
good.
So until next time, keep shooting, keep creating, and keep building the business that supports your dreams. Have a fantastic week. And remember, in the business of photography, your creativity is your biggest asset.